Hello and welcome to another Cafecito con NHCOA. Today's topic is very important: older adults in the workforce. Many older adults want or need to continue working, whether for financial reasons, personal fulfillment, social connection, or simply because they enjoy being active and contributing their experience and skills. I'm pleased to be joined today by Ocean Lee, Programs and Communications Manager at the Diverse Elders Coalition, who will help us explore accessible job opportunities, useful skills, and strategies for overcoming age barriers. Thank you for speaking with us today, Ocean, and a special thanks to all of you who are tuning in for this important discussion. Let's get started.
The first thing I would say is that older adults are not a monolith, so there really isn't one category of jobs that is right for someone simply because they're older. It depends on what they want to do, their experience, their health, and mobility, of course, and the kind of schedule they're looking for. We know that older adults are already working across many parts of the country. Nearly 1 in 5 adults age 65 plus was still working or looking for work in 2025, and many were in professional management, sales, and office occupations. Obviously, it changes for someone with limited mobility. That could mean administrative support, customer service roles, scheduling roles or assistant roles, personal assistants, bookkeeping, benefits counseling, tutoring, interpretation, data entry, or some remote and hybrid positions. As we talked about earlier, people are still looking for work. So someone who wants to be more active might look at libraries, schools, senior centers, community organizations, food programs, or visitor services. I think the biggest strength older adults bring is experience. And I think sometimes we underestimate how valuable that is. Someone who has worked 20, 30, or 40 years has probably developed skills and experiences that are difficult to teach in short training programs. You think about problem solving, communication, conflict resolution over those 20, 30, or 40 years that they have worked, customer service, leadership, reliability, and understanding how organizations actually work. Not just the day-to-day surface level, but how organizations actually work. For the communities the DEC works with, we also see another valuable set of skills: language ability, cultural knowledge, and community trust. Being bilingual or bicultural can be a real workforce asset, particularly in healthcare, aging services, community outreach, benefits navigation, and customer-facing work, especially in these areas. The DEC's policy toolkit actually calls for stronger career pathways for bilingual and bicultural workers because those skills can improve trust and communication. And I would say, to make them more valuable, the important thing during a job search is to translate experience into value. Instead of saying, "I've been doing this for 25 years, tell the employer what those 25 years allow you to do. Maybe you train staff, manage difficult situations and customers, supervise teams, built community relationships, or adapted through major changes, which all organizations to this day is looking for." And so I would tell older job seekers, experience should be presented as a current asset, not simply a record of the past or a history of what you did. I think first we have to acknowledge that age discrimination is real. I know people like to say, "Okay, boomer," without understanding the actual real life repercussions that it has on older adult workers. One of the stereotypes we continue to hear is that older adults are not comfortable with technology. So one practical strategy is to challenge that assumption before it even becomes a question during the job search. Put recent technology skills and training prominently on the resume. Mention that you use Zoom, Teams, Excel, online scheduling systems such as Slack or Microsoft Office or whatever is relevant to the job. I also recommend keeping a resume focused on the experience that is most relevant to the position rather than feeling obligated to list every job someone has held over several decades. And I would say networking is also incredibly important to overcome this in the job search. A personal connection or referral that allows an employer to see someone's skills, their willingness to learn, and personality rather than making assumptions based simply on age. And older adults should know their rights. Federal law protect workers and job applicants age 40 and older from age discrimination in many employment settings. From the DEC's perspective, however, we also recognize that ageism may intersect with other things such as ableism or disabilities, racism, language barriers, immigration experience, discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. So the burden cannot be entirely on older adults to overcome these barriers themselves. There needs to be protections, and they have protections in place. So understanding those protections during the job search and also putting your technological skills front and center in your resume. CSEP is a great example of how training can work. It serves eligible unemployed adults age 55 and older with low incomes and gives them paid part-time community service training where they build skills that can lead to regular employment. One example from our member organization, NAPCA, really illustrates this. Zufan Lee participated in NAPCA's CSEP and trained in their call center. She eventually transitioned into a full-time employment as a seniors benefits counselor and digital skills tutor. So the program did more than provide a temporary job. It gave her a place to learn, practice, and build confidence, and ultimately moved into a permanent role. That's why I describe CSEP as a bridge and not an endpoint. It allows you to learn necessary skills, technology, so that you can reach, your endpoint, which is a permanent role. You can find NAPA's NCBA or NHCOA CSEP on their main page, or you could just search it on their page. Just type in CSEP, SCSEP, and their CSEP programming would turn up on their pages or their website. I know CSEP is limited by eligibility and geography. Not everyone will have a NAPCA, NCBA, or NHCOA program nearby. And in those cases, I would encourage older adults to connect with their local American Job Center or AAA, community college, libraries, also workforce board, or community-based organizations. All these entities may offer digital skills training, resume assistance, occupational training, certifications, or connections to local employers. And the DEC's own policy toolkit emphasizes that digital skills programs also have to address access. Training someone to use technology does not help much if they don't have reliable internet, a device, or assistance in a language they understand, or helping someone learn new skills in technology doesn't ultimately teach them how it applies to the job that they want to be at. Beginning in January 2027, the new Medicaid work requirements or community engagement requirement primarily affects certain adults ages 19 through 64. For people who are subject to the work requirement, they generally need to demonstrate 80 hours per month of qualifying activity. Qualifying activity includes paid employment, community service, certain education or job training activities, or a combination of those activities, as long as they equal up to 80 hours per month. But there are also important exemptions. For example, American Indian and Alaska Natives are exempt, along with certain people who qualify as being medically frail or have significant medical needs. Pregnant people and certain caregivers are also exempt from this. So my advice to someone, again, between ages 55 and 64, because again, once you're 65 plus, this does not relate to you. on Medicaid would be to find out whether the requirement applies to you, find out whether you qualify for an exemption, keep records of your work, training, volunteer work, caregiving, or medical status, and pay very close attention to notices from your state Medicaid agency. And I say state because states are rolling this out. It's a federal mandate, but the states themselves roll this out in their own specific ways.
Thank you, Ocean, for sharing your insights and expertise with us. Today's discussion highlighted that older adults bring valuable skills, experience, knowledge, and perspective to the workforce. Yet, so many older adults encounter barriers while seeking employment, making it very important that we recognize and address these barriers to improve their social, mental, and financial well-being. For more information about this topic, the National Hispanic Council on Aging Resource Center is also available by phone call or WhatsApp at 202-658-8664. The NHCOA Resource Center is a multilingual hub that educates and empowers community members and constituents with accurate information and helpful resources. We invite you to share this edition of Cafecito con NHCOA with your family members, friends, and community. And don't forget to stay connected with us through our digital platforms and social media via @NHCOA for more resources, updates, and future events. Until the next Cafecito con NHCOA. See you then.